Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Nights. This is Kevin, and tonight we'll journey on the Scottish Express train. But first, just try and make yourself comfortable. Take a moment to find your perfect position. Feel the earth support you. Take a deep, slow breath in through your nose. And as you breathe out, just feel the day's activities beginning to fade away, like stations passed in the night. Through your breathing, let your body become heavy and still. Starting from your toes, feel a wave of calmness moving slowly upwards, like a train journeying north. This train of calmness moves through your feet, your calves, your thighs, your hips, your back, each part of you becoming completely at rest. Let this peaceful feeling flow into your chest, your arms, up your neck, and finally into your head. Now remember, during the story, there's no need to concentrate too deeply. Simply let my voice carry you along as we drift into tonight's tale. Now, as your breathing becomes as steady as wheels on tracks, your mind as quiet as a sleeping railway station, prepare to board the Scottish Night Train. You settle into your window seat on the Scottish Night Train as the Edinburgh station bustle fades behind you. The late afternoon light casts long shadows across the platform as the train pulls away with a gentle lurch. Your overnight journey to the far northern reaches of Scotland is just beginning, and already you feel the city's demands slipping away like the receding skyline outside your window. The train moves with a steady, hypnotic rhythm, wheels clicking against rail joints in a pattern that seems to whisper, "Rest, rest, rest." Rain gently knocks on the windows. The gentle sway of the carriage reminds you of a cradle, rocking with each curve of the track. Your compartment is tidy and comfortable, with with wood-panelled walls and seats upholstered in a subtle tartan pattern. Small reading lamps cast a warm glow as daylight begins its slow retreat. You've stowed your bag on the rack above and placed your ticket in the holder by the door. A simple ritual that marks the transition from hurried traveller to passenger, with nothing required of you now but to watch Scotland unfold outside your window. As the train gains speed, city buildings give way to countryside. You catch glimpses of stone cottages with smoke rising from chimneys, fields bordered by ancient stone walls, and streams that flash silver in the fading light. The clickety-clack of wheels becomes a constant companion, a metronome counting seconds of peaceful forward motion. At the first stop, an elderly gentleman with silver hair and weather-worn cheeks boards the train, and he takes a seat across from you. He settles in with practiced ease, nodding a greeting as he places a walking stick with a carved wooden handle against the seat. "Good evening," he says, his voice carrying the gentle lilt of the Highlands. "Heading north, I see." When you confirm your destination, he smiles. "Oh yes, a beautiful journey ahead. I've been making this trip for more years than I care to count." The train pulls away again, rocking gently as it regains speed. Outside, the landscape begins to change, fields giving way to more dramatic terrain as you head northward. The afternoon light has softened now, taking on the golden quality that photographers call the magic hour. Spits of rain still hitting against the windows. "Is this your first time on this route?" the gentleman asks, introducing himself as Duncan. When you mention you're not familiar with the places you'll be passing, his eyes brighten. "Ah, well, you're in for a right treat," You see, this railway cuts through some of Scotland's most storied lands. Every hill and loch we pass has tales that go back hundreds and hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. The gentle rhythm of the train seems to invite conversation. And there's something about Duncan's manner that feels familiar and trustworthy. You find yourself relaxing into the moment as the city stress that followed you aboard begins to fade with each mile of northward travel. Do you see that hill there? Duncan points to a perfectly rounded knoll in the distance, standing alone in an otherwise flat valley. That's a fairy hill, what we call a sateen in the old tongue. Folk used to say it was hollow inside, home to the fairy folk. Even 20 years ago, farmers would plough around it rather than across it. You watch as the hill slowly passes from view, trying to imagine generations of ploughs, carefully avoiding its perfect slopes. The train rounds a curve, and the sunlight catches raindrops on the window, transforming them into tiny prisms that scatter rainbow colors across the compartment. Oh yes, the weather changes quickly in the Highlands, Duncan observes, as the light rain begins to tap against the glass. We have a saying: if you don't like the Scottish weather, wait 20 minutes. As the afternoon light fades further, the train attendant passes through, switching on more lamps and offering tea from a trolley. Duncan accepts a cup with a nod of thanks, wrapping weathered hands around its warmth. You notice a simple gold band on his left hand, worn thin with years. "43 years I worked for the railway," he says, following your gaze. Started as a porter, ended as a station manager up at Inverness. This line, he gestures to the window. Well, this line is in my blood now. My wife always said I loved the rails almost as much as I loved her. His smile carries both fondness and a touch of sadness. The train slows as you approach a stone viaduct spanning a deep valley. Rain streams across the windows. You can see the dramatic arches carrying you high above a rushing river. Impressive, isn't it? Duncan says. Built in 1897. The men who constructed this, well, you see, they worked through Highland winters, summer midges, everything the Scottish weather could throw at them. They called it the Bridge of Sighs, not for romantic reasons, mind you, but for the sound the wind makes between the arches on a stormy night. And as if on cue, the wind picks up, sending sheets of rain against the glass. But inside, everything remains warm and snug. The contrast between the wild weather outside and the cozy compartment, making your journey feel all the more comfortable. The train's dining car opens for the evening meal. Duncan suggests you both make your way there. The narrow corridor rocks gently as you walk, requiring a steady hand against the wall for balance. It's a pleasant sensation, like walking on the deck of a very stable ship. Each carriage you pass through has its own character. From the modern standard class to the more ornate first class compartments. The dining car glows with soft lighting reflecting off white tablecloths and polished wood panels. As you settle at a table, the countryside continues its steady procession behind the glass. Now farms, giving way to wilder terrain, hills growing into mountains that loom as dark shapes against the darkening sky. Over a simple but hearty meal of traditional Scottish fare, cock-a-leekie soup, followed by venison with neeps and tatties. Duncan points out landmarks barely visible in the gathering dusk. There, he says, indicating a distant shimmer. That's the edge of Loch Lomond. In the old days, clans would test their young men by having them swim across. The waters are deeper than they look, over 600 feet in places. The soup warms you from the inside, its comforting heat spreading through your body as the train rocks gently onward. Outside, twilight has nearly completed its transition to night, with only a faint band of deep blue remaining on the western horizon. We'll be coming to the Trossachs soon, Duncan continues, his voice taking on the natural cadence of a storyteller. That's Roy MacGregor country, Scotland's own Highland rogue. The hills around here sheltered him when the law was at his heels. They say he knew every cave and hollow between Loch Lomond and Loch Catherine. The train's rhythm seems to underscore his words. The clickety-clack, now a steady backbeat to tales of cattle raids and midnight escapes. There's something mesmerizing about hearing these stories while physically moving through the very landscape where they unfolded centuries ago. As you finish your meal and the attendant clears away the dishes, the last light fades completely from the sky. Now the window reflects the dining car's interior, with occasional glimpses of darkness beyond when passing lights illuminate fragments of the landscape. A stone wall here, a cluster of sheep there, the silver thread of a stream catching moonlight between clouds. Back in your compartment, the attendant has converted the seats into comfortable sleeping berths. Fresh linens and plump pillows await, promising rest rocked by the gentle motion of the train. In the old days, Duncan says, as he settles back into his seat, before electric lights and such, night travel was considered somewhat magical. Moving through darkness from one place to another, seeing things no day traveller ever would. Fox eyes reflecting lantern light from the embankment, barn owls ghosting alongside the train for a stretch, hunting in our moving pool of light. You notice how the train's lamps cast a warm glow that barely reaches beyond the glass. Occasionally, distant lights appear. A farmhouse window glowing amber in the distance, or the clustered lights of a small village that appears and vanishes as the train passes through without stopping. We'll be coming to Rannoch Moor soon, Duncan says, his voice lower now, matching the intimacy of the night dark compartment. 20,000 acres of bog and moorland, one of Europe's last true wildernesses. The railway builders had to float the track on brushwood foundations because the ground was too wet for conventional construction. Even today, if you know where to look, you can see the track actually move when the train passes, rising and falling like it's breathing. The thought of the track breathing beneath you adds another dimension to the train's movement. You become even more aware of its different rhythms. The steady side-to-side rock, the gentle bouncing over rail joints, the occasional slow tilt when banking through curves. Each movement invites your body to relax further into the comfortable berth. The moor has its own stories, Duncan continues. Travellers in the old days feared crossing it. They told tales of lights that would appear on foggy nights, small, bobbing lanterns that seemed to be carried by other travellers. These lights would lead people off the safe paths into the bogs, where they'd be lost. He smiles. Of course, we know now about marsh gas and such, but still, on a misty night up here, the old stories don't seem so far-fetched. Through the window, you see only darkness now. The occasional flash of moonlight when the clouds part momentarily. There's something profoundly peaceful about being cocooned in the warm, gently rocking compartment while traversing such remote wilderness. "Look there," Duncan says, pointing to the window. In the distance, a cluster of lights hovers above the dark expanse of the moor. Glencoe village. Beyond it lies a mountain pass of the same name, Glencoe. His voice then takes on a more somber quality. Aye, it's a place of terrible beauty, that one. The mountains there are some of Scotland's most magnificent, but they witnessed one of our darkest chapters. As the distant lights slowly shift position outside your window, Duncan recounts the story of the Glencoe massacre. How in 1692, soldiers violated Highland hospitality. They say the ghosts still wander the glens on snowy nights. Not that I believe in such things, mind you, he adds with a small smile. But there's still a feeling in that place that stays with you. The train begins to slow, approaching a small station where a handful of passengers will disembark. The platform appears out of the darkness, a small island of yellow light in the vast Highland night. A few people wait with collars turned up against the light rain, their faces momentarily illuminated as the train's windows pass by. The station building is built of sturdy stone, looking much as it must have been when first constructed. After a brief stop, the train pulls away again, its rhythm building gradually back to the steady pace you've become so familiar with. "We'll be following the coastline soon," Duncan says, his voice growing softer. "On clear nights, you can see all the way to the islands. Aye, the ancient Celts believed that the islands were places where the veil between the worlds grew thin, neither fully part of the land nor entirely claimed by the sea." The clouds must have parted outside, because suddenly moonlight floods the compartment, casting everything in silver and shadow. Through the window, you catch glimpses of the sea, its surface rippled by wind and dappled with moonlight. The train follows the coastline now, sometimes running so close that it seems to be skimming the edge of the water itself. Listen, Duncan says. Beneath the rhythm of the wheels, you can hear a new sound. Waves breaking against the shore, their endless cycle creating a counterpoint to the train's steady progress. Two journeys happening at once, he remarks. The train moving north, and the tide making its age-old circuit. My grandfather was a fisherman before he worked on the rails. He always said he traded one rhythm for another. The mention of his grandfather leads Duncan to share stories of Highland fishing communities. But how they read the sea and sky for weather signs, the traditions surrounding their boats, the songs women would sing when watching for returning vessels. His voice takes on a gentle, almost musical quality as he recounts fragments of these songs. Not quite singing, but letting the words rise and fall in their traditional patterns. The effect is deeply calming. Between the train's motion, the distant sound of waves, and Duncan's melodic storytelling, you feel yourself drifting towards sleep. We'll be crossing the Moray Firth soon, Duncan says, stifling a yawn himself. The dolphins sometimes follow the shoreline there. Railway workers used to time their breaks to watch for them. Some believed they were reincarnated souls of sailors lost at sea. He smiles at the notion. Beautiful creatures, whatever their nature may be. Your eyelids have grown heavy, but through them you catch occasional glimpses of the moonlight. hitting the coastline, silvery beaches, dark cliffs, the distant flash of what might have been a lighthouse. Duncan's voice has grown even quieter now. His story is now shared almost in a whisper, as if respecting your journey towards sleep. He speaks of ancient standing stones you'll pass in the night, aligned with stars that guided travellers long before railways existed. He mentions mountain passes where legendary battles occurred, now peaceful under moonlight and watchful stars. My grandmother, he says softly, she used to say that night travellers were blessed. You see the world when it's dreaming, she'd tell me, and catch glimpses of what it dreams about. I should have always liked that thought. The gentle rocking of the train has become a lullaby now. Your breathing has slowed. Your awareness drifting between Duncan's soft words and the peaceful sounds of night travel. Through barely open eyes, you notice that he's gazing out at the passing landscape with an expression of contented familiarity. A man at home in this journey between places. Rest now, he says, noticing your heavy eyelids. The train knows the way. Been following the same tracks for over 100 years. He reaches up to dim the compartment lamp, leaving just enough light to see the outline of the passing world outside. I'll wake you before you stop. Don't worry. As you drift deeper towards sleep, the boundaries between wakefulness and dreaming begin to blur. The train's motion continues to rock you, while the steady rhythm of wheels on rails becomes the heartbeat of your journey into dreams. Duncan's stories seem to follow you there, not just the details, but their essence. tales of a land shaped by weather and time. Of people connected to earth and sea. Of journeys made countless times, yet always, always unique. In this in-between state, the Highland Train carries you forward. Tomorrow will find you further north, waking to new landscapes and fresh stories waiting beyond your window. But for now, the gentle rocking motion, steady rhythm of wheels accompanies you into peaceful slumber. The last thing you're aware of is the distant sound of waves against the shore. The soft breathing of Duncan, your traveling companion, and the train's whisper as it glides through the Highland night, carrying its sleeping passengers safely through the darkness toward the dawn.